welcome in everybody. Bo here, and whether you are tuning in on Roku, YouTube, any of the platforms, welcome to the show. Of course, I am flying solo today. Pags is on assignment. He's actually at a Phillies game this morning, and Jay may pop in, stat guy, you never know. But there were some things that were of note, and of course, this sports show, so whether the guys are with me or not, we are going to talk some sports. And so we're going to light this thing off. One of the things that came across is Aaron Donald may entertain coming back to the league. Now, this retirement seems pretty short, and of course, wouldn't be a huge shock. The Rams do look like they had a decent draft, and if they were to call upon him, it does sound like he would be open to the idea of coming back in. And, obviously, as a Seahawk fan, that's not something you want to see. Aaron Donald is a one-man wrecking crew. And, everybody was pretty happy when he decided to hang him up. But that being said, I think the time away from the sport, kind of getting away from everything for a little while, might have rejuvenated his desire to play ball. And, of course, it's, just quarterbacks across the league are probably not super excited if he does come in. And stat guy is a real person. His name's Dustin. He's here just about every day. So but I think he is covering a game, so we may not see him today either. But Aaron Donald potentially coming back could be interesting, certainly for the NFC West, because everybody in that division was ready to not see him anymore. And of course, my mom chiming in. Hello again. The other one that could be interesting is J.J. Watt. It's cool as long as you've seen him. Yeah, he is a real person. He is on camera just about every morning. So. But yeah, J.J. Watt is also somebody that had kind of expressed interest as far as potentially coming back. Now, his is a little bit more reluctant than Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald sounded like he would be real interested in the opportunity to come back, provided everything works. But J.J. Watt, his comments were a little bit different in the way that he said if D'Amico called him and they really need him, he would entertain it. But he has been training like he wanted to keep playing. He did say that this would be the last year that he would look at potentially doing that. And let's be honest, if J.J. Watt came back, especially if he was more of a rotational piece, obviously he's had injury history throughout his career. But if he were to kind of come in a like an extra role, or if somebody got hurt, obviously that probably is a situation where that could work better. But that Houston Texans team could be very interesting with a J.J. Watt added to that defense. All of a sudden that it goes from a team that was incredibly talented to a team that, has an extra, wow, we got a McLovin sighting early. That is crazy. How's it going, man?
It is going today. I thought we were recording Thursday, and I forgot today's not Thursday; it's Wednesday. So I had the first hour free. So my brain is a little left and right up today. But how you doing, Bo?
Doing good, man. So actually, since you're here,
yeah,
what do you think of Aaron Donald potentially coming back off of a very short retirement? And, obviously he's in our division, so I'm not super stoked about it, but he hasn't confirmed it, but he said he's open to the idea.
Yeah, anybody says they're open up to the idea. They're open up to the idea. If it was a closed book, I don't know if it was closed when he left. I think he thought it was closed when he left. Sometimes they had that buyer's remorse once they retire. Exactly. Tom Brady did it, and he came back. So it happens. Maybe he feels like he has, because I think sometimes, but when you're in the moment, I think you're just so sick of everything that you get out of it. And once you get out of it, and maybe there's some finality to it, that maybe you felt like, well, I still have more in the tank left to give. And then urges start to come back in you. And maybe you didn't realize it until you stepped away from it. And I think maybe that's what's going on with Aaron today. He may just have buyer's remorse on it.
No, and that's kind of what I think on it. right? Is you get away from everything, you get away from the grind a little bit, and you look at it and you're like, I still want to play, because you can't duplicate that feeling anywhere else. And so, I mean, I get wanting to step away when he did, right? I mean, he'd achieved everything you can achieve. He's been the defensive player of the year. He went to a Pro Bowl every year he was in the league. I think he was like a 7-time All-Pro. I mean, there's not much. He won a ring, right? So, I mean, there's not so much more he could really do. But once you hang him up, there's nothing that really fills that.
Yeah. And I really think that's what it is. I think the accolades, they come along with what you're doing, but really you're not doing it. I don't think they really do it for those accolades. I don't think that would be enough to fuel them long term if that was their case. I think they need something more than that. And I think it's just that internal competition in them that keeps them going. And I think it's hard to break away from that. When you're so competitive like that for so long,
yep.
I mean, that's a hard life. It's no different than when you get out of the military, you do 20 years in a lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, the lifestyle comes to a crashing end, and now you want to try to go out there and start talking to people, and you find it's difficult because you've done something for so long. It's hard to translate over.
Yeah, that's one thing that, like, when I stopped playing, right, I got asked that next season if I wanted to coach, and I was like, absolutely not. And they're like, why not? I was like, because if I step on that field, I'm going to want to put cleats back on. Like, there's no way just mentally I could be that close to the game and not play.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you just play for so long, like, you had a 30-year career or 20-year career. I mean, 20 years for a football player, that's almost unheard of these days with the way the injuries and stuff like that are going. But, that and off the field problems keep them out of the time most. It is.
If you retire because of injury, then the decision's not yours anymore, right?
Right.
But if you still feel like you have a couple years left, but you retire anyway, you can't be that close to the game, because you'll immediately be like, right? Because, I mean, I could have played a couple more years, and so when I left, it was just like, if I get out there, I'm gonna want to get out there.
Right. Right. No, I understand that. It's hard to turn that switch off once it's been turned on.
Oh yeah.
To learn a new lifestyle, especially when you've done something for so long, even if it's not good for you,
No, that doesn't play a factor at all. Life is hazardous to your health.
It is. I mean, think about the average football player when he goes from point A to retirement at point B. I wonder how many surgeries they go through in that span before they get out, Yeah,
it just depends. Because if you remember the like Howie Long, I think he had like 13 surgeries, something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Could I have played in the NBA? Definitely not. My 5'10" is not built for the NBA.
Ain't made too many spud webs out there,
Right? Like, I could shoot pretty good from the perimeter, but man, I just wasn't made for the NBA. Now, that being said, even though I'm not tall, like, I still can palm a basketball. So, I mean, there's elements, but the height's a real thing for the NBA. And I just apparently skipped that day.
Yeah, don't worry. I definitely skipped it at 5'9". So, and it's not even like a half. It's just dead on 5'9". So
I got you.
I can't even say there's like a half in there.
Got Sam stopping in. We got a Titans fan.
Yeah, there you go. Here, bring on the Titans. No, that's fine. Hey, Titans got some good stuff going on these days, right? I mean, they just got a new was it a new quarterback they got over there, or a new in the draft? Who did they draft? Who did they draft? I thought they drafted somebody big. Forget who it was though.
Yeah, I'm not sure who you're thinking of.
Don't worry about it. Probably didn't matter anyway. Oh no, I was thinking about Odell Beckham. That's what was going through my mind. And I knew there was something big that happened out there in Miami. Though Beckham.
Miami.
Yeah.
No, he's a Tennessee Titans fan.
Yeah, it's Miami. I was thinking of, not Tennessee. It was.
Yeah,
I
no,
knew something big happened this week, and I thought for some reason I was thinking Miami. I mean, Tennessee, but no, it was Miami. So, what do you think about that? Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and now OBJ. That's gonna be a pretty good three-headed monster for Tua to throw to.
yeah, so is it? The thing about that is OBJ is he's surviving on something that he hasn't been in a long time, right? His last real productive year, he still played in New York, right? And he largely survives on that one-handed catch that still hits Sports Center all the time. So good on him, amazing catch. But when you look at what he's done kind of since then, he's a 400-yard-a-year receiver.
Right.
That's not
so
really
basically, he's been kind of overshadowed or overhyped more than.
That's the thing.
And really, injuries kind of hurt him bad, though.
Well, they definitely have, but I mean, mostly he is a really overhyped guy for the production that you actually get. Now he'll get you a couple of flashy plays here and there. Absolutely will. Outside of that, like, he's not your every down reliable target. Now he's not going to be asked to be that, but when you look at Miami, was another receiver what they needed? Because that defense isn't great. And Chop can't do it all on his own. So I would have saved that. I think they gave him $8 million and, I don't know, got some defensive players that might shore up a weak unit. Now,
and that's a good point you brought up as well, because that is a huge glaring fact. They did lose a couple of guys over there on that defense that could come back to bite them in the butt. You're right. For a guy who maybe is every third play kind of guy that's just going to stretch the field a little bit for Tyreek every now and then.
Yeah, well, and
you're
I
right.
mean,
you're right. That's a good point.
Well, and it's not like that defense was good anyway, right? So then they turn around and get,
especially when they lost Nick Chubb, that certainly took him down to the toilet.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because it wasn't a good defense last year, and then they get rid of two of their main pieces.
Right.
And then they add a receiver, and you're just like, man, your offense was actually pretty solid. Oh yeah, that's right. Tony Pollard did. I mean, that doesn't move the needle for me, but he did move over to Tennessee, and
I always think he's still stuck with Zeke though, because Zeke's not there.
Yeah, I was going to say Zeke is back in Dallas. So what do you think? What do you honestly think of that? Does that do anything for you?
No, not really. It would probably have done something for me if Zeke and Pollard could have teamed up together as a thunder and lightning type of combination. I think that would have done well. But just having one or the other, no, does not. Neither one of those. And the thing about Pollard for me is it's more the injury. He gets, you run him a lot like that, he gets injured quite a bit. I mean, he's a smaller guy. He's not a huge guy, right? I mean, he's just quick and elusive. That's his thing. And when you're small like that, you tend to get hurt a lot. And that's the problem with Pollard. Dallas ran him a lot, and he got hurt a lot. Which I think is where Zeke could kind of balance that out a little bit. So Tennessee's going to have to get somebody that, other than just Pollard running the ball, to balance it out. I don't think Pollard's going to carry Tennessee the whole season, especially when they got way more issues than what Dallas had on offense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yes, Jay is a Dallas guy. Oh, so there was just two pieces to your comment. I got you.
Well, okay.
So he's saying you're stuck with Zeke again. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, and we are. It's like I told you. You never go back to your first girlfriend, man. You let that one ride. Hey, it was a beautiful moment when we had it, and then it faded and never will be repeated again. And that's really what should have happened in Dallas. Zeke came on the scene. He gave him a good first year or so. He got the big contract, went to the pooper, and they really should have never turned back and looked at him. They should have just let him go and just fade out into the distance. Take that lump of coal, Jerry. Take a couple of crappy seasons. And come back to the draft and repair yourself. I mean, sometimes you got to take a step back. Sometimes, Bo, when you try to go forward by putting little patch knit Band-Aids on it just so you can stay competitive, isn't necessarily the best thing overall for the team. And it really isn't over. I mean, it's not good for the fan base because you're not giving them the product they should have had the first place. You're just giving them a halfway ass product that you know is not going to go far anyway. So what are you really doing? You're just toying with our emotions at this point, Jerry? Because I don't like to be toyed with.
Yeah, well, this is what All In looks like.
Yeah. We went all in for that 25 cents tip. I mean, come on.
Right?
Come on, Jerry. You can do better than this.
So, Sam, yeah, we did talk about this a couple of days ago. And so what did we think of the Penix pick? It's weird. Obviously we didn't see that coming, especially at the location. Had they picked Penix up in the late 20s,
right,
totally fine with it, right? Like that would have made sense. You're looking at the heir apparent for Kirk Cousins, but now you pick him at 8, right?
Right.
So now there's a lot of pressure. Plus, you don't really know if Kirk Cousins is going to be ready for week 1. If Penix comes in week 1 and balls out, you're paying $50 million to a guy that may never hit the field, right? He may get that Drew Bledsoe love. So,
And that's the thing. I would think that when Atlanta made this pick, I to a certain point, I understand why they made the pick because I really feel like the field general spot was really the only thing that was holding them back. And I think they picked Penix because they felt like Penix was the most pro-ready guy in this draft. And God forbid if Cousins goes down. Look, the Achilles injury, you know how bad that is. You know, it doesn't take much to retake that out from underneath you. And I think Penix was just more of them panicking a little bit, trying to get the most pro-ready guy there. So if something happens to Cousins, they can still be competitive. I really think that's what they were thinking more than anything else.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I'm with you. But if your plan was Penix, right? Because they said, they fell in love with Penix and all of this. If your plan was Penix, then why are you spending $180 million on Kirk Cousins? Go get Drew Lock.
That's the one that should perplex you. Out of both of those, that's the one that should perplex you. Why are you going to give that damn much money to a guy that's 37 years old, come off a torn Achilles? Is the most dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. So if anything wants to perplex you, it should be that perplexes you. Now, yes, the one thing that probably did perplex me a little bit with Penix, and maybe they felt like he just wasn't going to be there, is that they would have drafted back and selected him, like you said, the 20s. But I think maybe they felt like Penix wouldn't be there in the 20s, that they felt like somebody else was going to, jump up and grab him. And he really is, honestly, the most pro-ready of all the guys out there. And I think that's what I think that was a little bit of panic on their part,
Yeah, no, I mean, he definitely throws the best ball. There's no question. But at the same time, like if he was your guy, then you go get a Sam Howell, a Drew Lock, one of these backups. And then you have, any of those caliber guys, right? And that way you can cultivate your talent and then he's ready to rock next year or later in the year if, a Sam Darnold or somebody like that struggles. So for you to go spend the kind of money they did and then come out with the press conference of, we're fine if he sits for 4 or 5 years, he'll be almost 30 years old if that's the case. And he'll have never taken an NFL snap. Like, what are we talking about right now? Like,
I'll tell you what we're talking about. Jerry, this is what going all in looks like and having a slight backup plan if all in doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, like if there were teams that were moving into an all-in type of scenario, Atlanta, right? You got the Steelers look like they're trying to do something to that effect, right? Those teams feel like they're doing an all-in scenario, whereas Dallas is like, I got some duct tape and zip ties. We'll see what we can do.
Dallas did kind of do an all-in experiment with the 3 of those guys. And unfortunately, the all-in experiment back in that day didn't work out. And now he's trying to go all in again. But unfortunately, he doesn't have anything to go all in with because he's already gone all in. That's why they call it going gold all in.
Yeah, that's right. And
because there is no out.
Exactly. But, to your first point there, he definitely wouldn't have been on the board still, right? At 20 something. I don't think he survived. Like he would have been gone at 12 to 15.
I think so too.
Penix would have been off the board.
Right.
Plus, there were other teams that were interested in moving up. I know the Seahawks entertained the idea of getting into the top 10 to go get him also. So, he definitely would have been gone. Had he still been on the board, honestly, the Vikings probably would have snagged him. So
I was going to ask you if they didn't take Penix at 8, I wonder if Seattle or somebody would have jumped in there at 9 and tried to snag him.
yeah, so it just would have been what the asking price was, right? That's actually what kept Seattle out of it. Is they did look at climbing into the top 10 to go get him. The asking price was just too high. So that's why they didn't do it. I don't know if other teams felt the same way, but I mean, he was going to be gone regardless. And I completely agree. He is the most pro ready as far as ball skills for sure. He just happens to be limited on some of the athleticism, right? So he needs to go somewhere with a good offensive line. Like he would have been, imagine if Philly would have got him with the weapons Philly has, that could be a very dangerous team, right?
That could be a very dangerous team.
So I like his fit for Atlanta. I think Atlanta works for him. He has, a decent offensive line in front of him, but they obviously have Kirk Cousins there. So that's the weird element to it.
Could you imagine a Jalen Hurts, Michael Penix quarterback matchup or the QB war for QB1?
There's such a difference in style between the two.
Absolutely.
Like that would be the worst backup quarterback situation.
Oh. And the thing about it is too, is because the one thing that Hurt can do that Penix can't do because of his injury that he took to those knees is he can reverse field on it quick. He can scramble, he can get out of the pocket, he can find he can find ways to extend plays. You're not going to get that with Penix. Penix is a 4-second guy, and if it happens within that 4 seconds or 5 seconds, great, he'll get you somewhere. But he's not going to have the ability to just run around and try to buy time like Penix and Patrick Mahomes can do. That's really the downside to Penix's game because he had those injuries. It really took that play extending moment away from him. It really kind of made him more one-dimensional, where if he shut down the quarters or you get any kind of pressure on him, you could take him out of the game. And that really is the knock on that guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's for Penix at this point, his ability to maneuver is a lot like Geno Smith.
Right.
And he can extend a play, like he can move around. He showed, especially in the championship game, he can take a hit still. So I mean, he can move around and extend a play, but he can't. He's not going to take off and run. Right. Like he might be able to scamper for 5 to 8 yards if it opens up, but he's not going to take off and worry you about scoring.
Right. No, yeah, you're right. And that's the thing. And that's the thing. That's the only thing that kind of goes against him is he doesn't have that ability anymore. Because he doesn't have the ability, it does make it a little bit easier to game manage against him. If you're at the pro level, these coordinators, they're going to find ways to, stunt you, whatever, confuse you, to take you out of your game because you really don't have a run game. So, yeah, I can see that being a huge hindrance to him in the NFL if he's not careful. Not that Brady had a great scrambling game either, but he still could find ways.
Well, the difference for him is his offensive line was great.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like he didn't take a lot of hits through most of his career. And if he was scrambling at all, it was realistically as a quarterback sneak and he was leaning forward for 1.5 yards, which he was one of the best to do it at that. But he never really had to run. Like some of his running that he did in his first couple of years, and he still wasn't fast, obviously. But outside of that, he never really did a lot of running. So this would be interesting if Cousins leaving had to do with them wanting to draft a quarterback. Then talk about his new landing space being awesome.
Oh man, you're not even lying. Either one of those landing spaces being awesome. Whether it's with the Vikings or Atlanta. I mean, I think I'd rather be in the Atlanta situation than the Vikings. I will say that.
Well, but if he was leaving with the idea of, hey, these guys are drafting a guy in the first round, my time here is done, I'm moving on. He gets to his new spot, and then they actually draft someone even higher.
Yeah. And that's got to put a fear in you, like, hey, but you know what? I'll tell you like this, though, man. Again, this does go back to the competitive nature because we all want to be competitive. But my financials always says to me, Jay, it's still free money. Take that shit.
Yep.
it's still free money out there, and regardless, and you're not having to take the hit. So whatever. I mean, do whatever you want with me as you will. I mean, pay me whatever.
Well, I mean, even if you lose your job, I guess you're guaranteed $90 million. I feel like you're probably all right.
Yeah.
Kirk's
not upset about it. I promise you, he's not. He's like, you know what? All right, it is what it is, and I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my life and my babies and my beautiful wife, and we're gonna just. I mean, he's just gonna live his life. I mean, he's done enough in this world. That little Super Bowl ring, yeah, it means a lot, but at the same time,
well,
he got a pretty damn good life.
Well, and he's already made so much money anyway. But like, if this is how your career winds down, is you only get your guaranteed money, right? So you walk away with $90 million to not get beat up anymore. I mean,
like a pretty good trade-off. I'll take that.
Right? Like I wouldn't be mad at it.
I'd be okay with that. And I'm sure his wife would be okay with that too. I mean, it's interesting. Like, for as much money as Kirk Cousins has made, and he's made a lot of money in the NFL. Well, like 400 something $1 million to have never won a Super Bowl and only a handful of playoff games, a couple of playoff games here and there. I gotta tell you, that's a pretty damn impressive resume. I think that might be more impressive than what Brady did to get that much money. And stay in the league as long as you stayed around and not really be quote unquote the elite guy.
Yeah.
You say what you will. It sounds like a pretty good recipe for success to me.
I mean, I'm not mad at it. I mean, plus he was pretty, like, he put up crazy stats.
Yeah.
Right. He always put up a ton of yards, had a ton of touchdowns. It's not like all of those losing seasons were necessarily on him. Like, he played for some teams that had bad defenses.
Yeah.
So, like, it wasn't all his fault. Now, the fact that he, for whatever reason, falls apart in prime time, that falls on him a little bit.
Well, yeah, and that is the way it is. I mean, and that's why I think it's crazy, the fact that he's done that, but yet still amassed the amount of money he's amassed. I mean, kudos. I don't know who to give kudos to, him or his agent, because I think his agent must have done one hell of a job getting him all contracts too, though.
Hey, all I'm saying is I want that guy's agent.
I mean, I'm just saying, it sounds like his agent did a pretty good job repping him to get him all these jobs, especially the one in Minnesota. I mean, come on, you got to imagine that must have taken some serious agent skills to pull off that type of contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you think of the fact that he did when he goes to Washington, right? He bets on himself and takes the franchise tag, which is fully guaranteed money. Right.
Wow.
And then moves on to 2 fully guaranteed contracts in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
How much better you get that? And then he's got half of his contract guaranteed in Atlanta. And that's a pretty good half a contract to be guaranteed.
Yeah. So his first 2 years are fully guaranteed money. And then the third year is the final $10 million of all the guaranteed money, but there's outs in the contract. So realistically, his contract is 2 years fully guaranteed is really what it is.
Yeah.
So 2 years fully guaranteed, $90 million is really what this contract is. It's technically 4 on paper, but he wouldn't have any more guaranteed money after that second year. So realistically, when we're looking at this, how it probably plays out is they have Cousins this year and next year, and then they start Penix. Or if Cousins struggles, Penix comes in early. But at the end of the day, this really feels like it's a 2-year contract with 2 years that they have outs. Obviously, they'll take a wicked cap hit, but it won't matter because Penix is free as a rookie. And that's really how I see this coming together.
And you got to imagine the teams that would take on a guy like Michael Penix, those are the guys you're not throwing this guy out like you do Joe Burrow out into the weeds, because he doesn't have the scrambling skills to get away from that crap. So you have to have a good offensive line if you want his skill set to be productive right up off the rip. So you're not putting this guy into a situation unless that situation is ready for him, because he just doesn't have the tools to evacuate the way other quarterbacks could do. And that could really end his career even much quicker if you're not careful. So
Yeah.
That's why I think the Atlanta situation is a good one because they're definitely developing that offensive line. You have Cousins right there to kind of step to be the gap filler quarterback for a little bit while Penix gets that level. And it just allows them to ease him in. That's really, if I was Penix, I would be happy with this situation because I know I'm not going to a place where they're going to feed me to the fire. I'm going to work into the rotation, good offensive line. I'm going to make some money. I mean, it's a good it's a good overall initiative for him, honestly.
Oh, it's great for him. He gets to learn
Especially the
behind
number 8
somebody
spot. Typically those number 8 spots, even then, you're going to a team that really desperately is in need of a quarterback rather than a team that is looking to bring in the heir apparent replacement.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, it's it's a great situation for Penix because if he does sit behind Kirk Cousins, I mean, that's a good guy to learn from, right?
Oh, absolutely. But I think both on and off the field, Kirk Cousins will be a good mentor to you.
No, exactly. But the first part of your comment is the part that doesn't make sense because of the dollar figure of Kirk Cousins being your gap filler. Because $90 million for a gap filler.
Oh, I know. But you got to admit, look, it is what it is, and they paid what they paid, and look, they're not looking at Kirk. They're looking at Kirk to get him a Super Bowl. That's why you spent all that money, right, man? Because you felt like all you needed was a guy to come in and lead this team and get the Super Bowl win, which is what Kirk Cousins can do for your team. What I meant by gap filler, not that he's a gap fill talent. I'm just saying he's just there for a very short period of time while they're making room to bring in a Michael Penix to supersede him. That's all I meant by gap filler. Not that gap filler in terms of he's just
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. I'm just
it's a lot of damn money. It's a lot of
cabbage. A lot of money for a guy that you're viewing as a gap filler. Not that his talent suggests he's a gap filler.
Again, I think it goes back to the original conundrum of why he is an enigma of why that's the weird part. It's not the fact that they brought Penix in. It's the fact that they spent so much money on Kirk Cousins just for a small amount of time. I mean,
exactly.
It's a very unique, weird situation. But I will tell you this, and I'm going to say it again. Jerry Jones, if you're listening, this is what all in looks like to you. It's all in with the backup plan. Maybe if you were smarter, you'd have it all in with the backup plan.
I like this. Dallas should hire you as the GM.
I wish they would, because the first thing I would do is hire somebody a lot smarter than me that knows the game of football a lot better than me, and that's going to be my right-hand go-to guy. Right? Look, even the presidential person has aides. What do the aides are there for?
That's true.
You know what? The smartest person in the room is the one that's the dumbest in the circle, but has a shit ton of smart people around him. That's the smartest son of a gun in the room. Let me tell you something.
No doubt. If you're ever the smartest one in the room, find a new room. That is the thing.
Yeah. Because you should be smart, but you want smart people around you that know that they're pieces of the pie. So when it comes to making a decision, I'm gonna go to my piece of the pie. That's all they do is that piece of the pie. Yep. And me and him are gonna have a discussion. We're gonna figure this out. And that's what you need to do. And Jerry Jones is trying to be the master of all the damn pies. But at 80 years old, look, but you can't remember your faculties. Don't worry about that bullshit.
It's funny though, because even though I don't love him as the GM, I'd still want him in the draft room. For whatever reason, he drafts really well. He just needs to get out of the room after that because he doesn't cultivate talent. He doesn't get it to mesh well on the field, but he can sure bring it in. Like he can bring the talent to the team.
Jerry needs a damn GM. And if he wants to add his 2 cents in the war room on draft day, so fucking be it. But have a GM that is going to have the autonomy to tell Jerry, look, Jerry, I know this is the one you want, but this is not who we're going with. We're going with. And Jerry needs to know to back off and let that man make his decision. Robert Kraft did it. And look how Robert Kraft is doing. He did quite well.
Does that sound like something Jerry would do?
No, he wouldn't do it. That's why Jimmy Johnson left.
I know.
Think about that. I mean, had Jimmy Johnson not left and had Jerry just let Jimmy do what Jimmy does and just help out in the draft side of life and then back off, there's no telling how many more Super Bowls the Dallas Cowboys could have won had that one specific incident never really happened. All right, Jerry had that much.
Jimmy leaves, you win one more with Jimmy's team, right?
Yeah, that's still Johnson's team, though.
Yeah, and then realistically, if he was still around, you probably could have snagged one more in the next few years. right? Because a lot of that team was still kind of around.
Right. Well,
So
the problem with the Cowboys was once Aikman retired, which was very shortly after Switzer left.
Yeah.
You know, they just never had a quarterback competently good enough as Aikman, right? You had a Romo in there, which had some ability. You had a Dak Prescott, which had some ability, but they were never the complete quarterback like the Aikmans were, or like the John Elways were, or whatever else, right? Good decision makers, that could lead teams, right?
Well, you also had Emmitt Smith that made his job a lot easier. So
it did, but you know what though? But you still got to contain Michael Irvin. You still got to contain what's that other dude's name that we had?
Well, so here's the argument.
Harper. That's Alvin Harper. Harper. I mean, there were some egos on that team too. I mean, let me tell you, there
was, but the dominance of Emmitt was something they haven't enjoyed since then.
That we also had a really good offensive line though too, man. That offensive line was on point.
You've had some good offensive lines. In fact, a couple of years ago with Dak, you had one of the best offensive lines in the league.
We sure did. But and that's Zeke really what kept the Cowboys afloat is the offensive line, honestly.
No, for sure. But Zeke had fallen off so much that you had weapons, right? Like you had receivers, but you knew you were passing because Zeke couldn't get any yards. So
Deuce Vaughn, I hope you're ready because don't think Zeke's going to come in there and save you. You better be ready, Deuce. I don't know what you got cooking them little legs of yours, but you better find it.
Yeah, I mean, what is Zeke at this point? A third down back, maybe?
I would put Zeke as a third down or goal line back. That's where I think or short yardage. Yeah, short yardage or goal line situations. That's where I'm running Zeke. And I may even just do a direct snap to his ass.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? Just so he can have that few extra milliseconds to get up to speed.
Well, but what my point here is it's like your best shot was actually had Jimmy Johnson stayed another couple years because I think Troy might have hung on a little longer.
Of course he would have.
Right? So
of course he would have. Yes, absolutely.
So you might have had a little bit better shot there because you might have been able to keep some of that core together another couple of years. Right. Now, would they have been as dominant? Probably not. But could you have potentially snagged one more ring in there? I think so. After that, you wouldn't have had Jimmy Johnson wouldn't have stayed for the team that they had after that.
The only thing I can say good about Jerry, honestly, is the fact that he has still kept the Cowboys as a financially highly reputable thing. Even though we're not winning, financially the damn team is soaring, even though they're not winning that, which is weird to me. I mean, you would have thought after 30 years that we'd have sunk down into some kind of low and things would have dropped off this side or the other. But it really hasn't. I mean, and I don't know if that's just Jerry being lucky enough to have a fan base that's crazy enough to do this, or is he really just that good at business?
He is an incredible marketer. There is no doubt. Like his marketing ability is fantastic. His ability to get talent is really good. So that's easy to market as well. And it's not like the team has been terrible. Now they've had bad years, but they haven't been consistently just in the tank, right? Like they had a few years of 8-8, but then they'd pop off with a 10 or 11 win season, right? So It's not like they were, the 90s Jets where they would win one game a year, 2 games a year kind of thing. Like they've always been around 500 at the worst. And then, they'd rattle off a double-digit win season, or you look at, the last few years, there's no real playoff, success, but it's 3 12-5 seasons in a row. So, I mean, it's not like you're going to lose fan base when you have a 12-5 caliber team coming through. Where you end up with all the heat is that that fan base runs their mouth and then they come up short. Like if they didn't do that, nobody would think twice about it. They'd be like, oh man, it's a good team. They just can't quite get over the hump, whatever. But because every offseason it's our year, we, them boys and all of this bullshit. Then all of a sudden people are like, ha, failure.
So maybe Jerry owes his stardom or whatever to a really crazy asshole fan base. Maybe the asshole fan base makes him the money. And all he has to do is just sit back and don't screw it up.
I mean, that's not wrong.
Just don't mess it up, Jerry. You got a good thing going over there. You got the right fan base. Nobody gives a damn. Just keep doing you, boo-boo. Just make a marginally competitive team on there that, stays in the top 2 or top 3 of the division every year. We'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, if you are
just don't go to dead last. If you go to dead last, then you might have some issues.
Yeah, so then all of a sudden your rabid fan base is a mob with pitchforks, right? Like if you're a 4-win team, then all of a sudden your fan base is like, Jerry needs to go, right?
Yeah.
But as long as you are winning records and you're in the conversation for playoff success, nobody's going to push too hard because you're in the mix.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to tell you earlier. Sometimes being mediocre for a long time is worse than just being crappy and then becoming good because you're able to rebuild or restock, retool, whatever.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden you're doing better than the team that's still over there playing mediocre, but they're putting a halfway decent team because they're not willing to go through what it takes to rebuild it. And that's what at this point, the Cowboys are ready to rebuild. And I'm saying that because the cap isn't there for them anymore. The cap has gone so bad on them that they put a marginally decent team out there, but that's really about all they can do. I think sometimes you got to take those marginal hits, go back a little bit, accumulate some top round draft picks, and just rebuild yourself. And, you're going to have some shitty years, but I'd rather have a couple of shitty years and make it through that than to keep playing this marginal game for the next 30 years.
Well, I mean, the thing is, as it sits over the last few years, you haven't been a marginal team, right? 12-5 is not a marginal team. But
no. Let me say what I describe marginal as. I describe marginal as, you're great in the regular season, but yet you suck in the playoffs. That's a marginal team. Because a great team would have found a way to get past the first round. We haven't made it past the first round in 30 years. That's a marginal team to me. That means you're marginally good enough to make the playoffs, but you're not great enough to win.
You won a wild card game 2 years ago.
Hey! Don't give me this false hopes, okay? We're not living on past crap because they lost.
You haven't been only one, it hasn't only been one and done, right? Like you've had a couple of times.
You know what I mean? You know where I'm going with that. I mean, it's just it's almost like if it's so bad that you can predict the ending. In my mind, that makes you marginal. You're not great. You're not anything else. You're just a marginally okay, whatever.
Well, get
your playoff entry, but then we fully expect you to be done within the first third quarter of the game. I mean, come on.
Yeah, see,
that's just the way it's been for a long time.
No, for sure. I guess I view the marginal years of the Cowboys a little bit differently because I view it more as the 8-8 Jason Garrett clap sessions.
Oh no, those were just not awful. That wasn't even marginal. That was just
no, because
we gotta say by Cowboys standards, we should have higher standards. We have high standards. The problem is we're not living up to them standards.
But to your first point, that kind of marginal performance is what keeps you from having good draft picks and getting better.
Yeah.
Whereas
you're gonna take the number 24 spot forever and a day.
Yeah.
And it's going to prevent you from really truly being able to take that next step because every time you get a little bit ahead, well, guess what? The class was a little bit ahead before then. Now they want to get paid. And when they want to get paid, then it takes everything off. I mean, one just kills you. They can't just put it all together at the same time. It's just out of whack. And they can't afford these people. And then when they do give the big contracts, they give them to the wrong people. Right?
Well, that's something Jerry Jones does.
I mean, he wasn't. I don't think he was really playing so great that he deserved that kind of contract. You might be able to make the play. You could probably make the case for Dak Prescott, but certainly not Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, he wasn't really doing anything over there that was 110 million worthy. Neither was Zeke. So you could have saved yourself 220 million just on getting better players that had more passion for the game than what they had.
Yeah, I mean that one, especially Zeke's. I didn't even get it at the time.
Right.
Because he was playing well, but you're like, I don't know if he's playing well enough for that contract, right? Like Dak made sense. He had you guys over a barrel, right? Because you guys played well enough that what else were you going to do?
You're right, because the field general is the hardest spot to fill, and even though I don't like Dak as much as I guess some other people do, he is better than the other ones that were out there at that particular time. So I understand why he had him over the barrel they had to pay. But when it came to Zeke and Amari, I think there were other people out there you could have found and saved yourself some time and money.
No, there definitely was. There definitely was, and of course, now you didn't expect Zeke to fall off the way he did after he signed. Like, you didn't think it was just his numbers were just going to plummet. You thought you were going to at least you were going to get kind of the average of his years up to that point, right? So not like his best season, but not what it became.
But it happened so fast. He was so young. Like he got horribly bad, horribly young.
I mean, he played a good season, signed that contract, and was bad after that. Like, it was bad after that. Like, it was a light switch. You're just like, man,
literally.
I mean, like,
do you think he said, "Hey, I got paid. Now I don't have to do anything. I can just go to Sizzler or Papa's or Papacitos and just sit there and eat food all day." And
from the outside, that's actually what it looked like. Yeah. From the outside, that's what it looked like. He was just like, "Okay, I got paid. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm gonna go eat my food off, and we're good."
Yeah.
But and the problem is he got fed. He just got fed the wrong kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seemed like he lost his drive.
It did, and I think sometimes money can do that. Like, you work so hard to get the bag, and then sometimes when you get the bag, I think you take that sigh of relief. But you can't do that in the NFL. You can never take a sigh of relief in the NFL because people are too good, too fast. And if you take a moment like that, you're gonna fall back a few steps, and you may not be able to catch back up to them once you do that. And that's the problem with the NFL. They think they could do that because they did it in college or high school, and those types of levels allow them to do it. But when you get to the pro level, baby, hey,
well, there definitely seems to be two different mindsets for players. There's either the I got my contract, and they kind of coast. Or there's the guys that are like, I got my contract, but let me show that I deserved this contract.
Are you telling me you had the Jamarcus Russell and the Tom Brady's of the league as opposites of each other, of what you said?
I mean, yeah, actually, really.
I mean, Tom Brady took it to the next level, right? He got paid through endorsements, even though his contracts weren't as big as everybody else. His endorsements were crazy. He's still getting the damn endorsements. I mean, but he was a guy that took it seriously. He's a guy that, if you took off a play or made a bad mistake on a play, he was going to be all up in you. I mean, and a lot of these players nowadays, they make mistakes, they get a little down on themselves, but then they move on like it never happened, and they don't ever, and they just don't put the work in to make sure that it doesn't happen again. See, that's the problem. It's good to have a quick memory while you're in the game, but it's also good to have a long memory in terms of, I need to fix this so it doesn't happen again. Like, they need to be able to remember some things.
Within the game, you make a mistake, you brush it off, no big deal. After the game, you watch some film and you learn from it. Is how it's supposed to work, right?
That's exactly right.
You can't just be like, oh, don't remember, and then you just never remember. Like, you won't get better that way.
And I think guys like Zeke, once they hit the Quan, they just stop caring. They stop having that competitive edge. And when you lose that competitive edge, especially in the world of sports, man, it's hard to get it back. When you do get it back, everybody else is so far ahead of you.
Exactly.
And you're older, and you're not even younger anymore to where you can just relapse and get back into the game like you did, like you thought you were able to.
Yep. No, absolutely.
What a time to be alive, man. Jeez, I really don't expect much from the Cowboys this year. I do expect the Eagles to take the division. I think if the Cowboys are lucky enough, maybe we'll snag a wild card. I mean, and that's just keeping it real. If we're lucky, we'll be able to snag a wild card. And that's just because, like I said, the cap is so bad. We weren't able to do anything with our team. Good, bright prospects in the draft and offensive linemen, but not enough, I don't think, to really be a difference maker in terms of getting us to the next level, right?
No, for sure. I think you're a 9-win team.
I think so too. I think if we get 10, we'd be lucky.
Yeah. No, it was funny. I was on a show last night, and I was debating with a Cowboys fan, right? And we got asked the question on over the next 5 years between the Seahawks and the Cowboys, which one is on paper slated to have a better next 5 years? And I was like, man, that's not even a fair question because Seattle has already started their rebuild.
Yeah.
And Dallas is this year from blowing this whole thing up. I was like, Seattle should, realistically over the next 5 years have more success than the Cowboys, simply because we're a year ahead of you in the rebuild process.
Well, you're ahead of the rebuild process, but you also have an ownership group that puts the right people in the right place to guide the team. And that's something that the Cowboys have not done because, again, of Jerry Jones's ego, he wants his guy in there rather than the right guy in there. And that's the problem. True. And that's why I would put money that the Seahawks would be there before the Cowboys were, because we still have the same ownership groups. So it's the same insane experiment. And then you're looking for a different result. That's not going to happen. You're going to exactly be where you are now.
No, exactly. And why I say a year ahead of the rebuild, because it's not even just players, right? Like you're going to go through all new coaching.
And you got a great coach, a great young coach that just came in there that's going to put a winning culture there. You got a winning culture already in your management level and ownership levels, and you got some pieces to work with.
Yeah, I mean, we already have an offense. We already have an offense that's decent. The defense obviously is to be determined because it's all new pieces, really. But yeah, I mean, again, over the next 5 years, it's like, okay, well, this coming season, Seattle is probably going to be a 9-win season, or 9-win team as well, right? So, yeah. But not all 9-win teams are built the same. So, like, we may both have the same record at the end of the year.
Yeah,
but Seattle should be a team that is on the rise, where the Cowboys at the end of this next season is probably blowing up most of the team.
And if you want to take it and base off what we saw last year out of the Cowboys, especially in the playoff game, and I really am referring specifically to the playoff game in which we went up against Green Bay Packers, and I think the debacle that was from a coaching aspect and a player aspect. And so when I look at the Cowboys, financially we're a mess, coaching we're a mess, ownership we're a mess. And you expect all this to get fixed between the now and the start of the season? I don't think this gets fixed between now and the end of this decade of my life. I don't. I think, and I say that because I figure by the end of this decade, by the end of the 2000s, Jerry will hopefully have turned the team over to either Steven or maybe some other executive branch that will actually bring in a GM and get this team back to where they used to be. I mean, it just got to take that kind of change. You got to start. Look, this team has to start at the top and go down with the change if the Cowboys want to get back where the Cowboys were. You can't keep going with the same ownership group.
Do you think that Stephen Jones actually does that, or do you think Stephen tries to be Jerry moving forward?
I that's a good question because I don't know Stephen on that level. I would think if I was Stephen, and I have all my faculties and I've seen the direction of this team over the last 30, I would have to say to myself, you know what? I don't think I can continue to do this team the way Dad was doing it because it hasn't worked in the last 30 years. And who's to say we didn't get lucky at the very beginning with Jimmy Johnson and the perfect Herschel Walker trade? That Herschel Walker trade doesn't go down. And we talk about the Cowboys even being relevant even then. So, there's a lot of things to consider here. And if I'm Stephen Jones, I don't want to be my dad. I want to be better than my dad. I want to have my own legacy on this team. And we haven't been relevant in 30 years. Maybe it's time to become relevant. Maybe it's time to hire a GM. Maybe it's time to go a different direction and put this franchise back where the franchise should have been about 30 years ago. And so, hopefully when it passes down to Stephen, I'm hoping that Stephen will be his own man and want to do things his own way and have his own competitive nature. And I hope he takes his team in a different direction than that. Do I know that for sure? No, I don't. But I'm hoping. That's all I can do.
I mean, I think he would, because he doesn't seem like he's that involved in that part of it as it sits today.
Right.
Like when you see him, he doesn't seem like he's involved in the GM duties as much. So on the plus side, that means when he does get handed the team over, he's probably going to want to hire a guy to do that. Or at least
I hope so. I really do. And I hope it just doesn't go out and just hire anybody. I hope he gets a due diligent search in there and finds the right guy that could put the right talent in there and the right coaching in there to get the job done and really install the right culture. Get back to that Cowboys, winning culture of high standards. I feel like our standards have really gone way down over the last 20 years in terms of what we expect out of that team. Not from a fan standpoint, because the fans think we should always be in the Super Bowl. But I definitely think that ownership, I think what ownership is doing now is gone predetermined from what Stephen Jones said he was about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the worry for Stephen Jones, I guess, is hopefully he doesn't turn out like Mark Davis, right?
Yeah.
Where, Al was this polarizing figure. He was a leader in the league, and, he got the Raiders success and all of that. And then Mark Davis comes in and really hasn't done anything. And, so your fan base won't entertain those kind of struggles if Stephen Jones has some of those issues that Mark Davis has had.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with you. Our fan base is they're gonna want more, and he's. But I would still, if I'm him, I'm not done. I'm not taking on that GM role. I'm hiring somebody. I am bringing somebody else in that knows the game of football, that has a good track record, that comes from winning organizations, that has a good culture, a good mindset. That can develop this team and put them in a winning direction. That's what I'm looking for, and definitely somebody who can make sound financial decisions and not give Amari Cooper and company, $310 million contracts when they didn't deserve it. That's really what I'm looking for, the best, the one that can make the best financial decisions within the organization. Because otherwise, you're going to keep running into this $9 million over $10 million, and if that's the case, then you really are hurting yourself bad. Well, maybe you went all in too many times.
Well, that's the thing is you can do it. You can go that route. You can go all in that way, and it's fine if it works, right? Because we just watched the Rams do it. They overpaid people. They pushed all the chips to the middle, and they got a ring. Then they had to tear it all apart because they couldn't afford anybody, which is why they've had some bad years now. And then you have to build back up. But it only doesn't seem dumb because it worked, right?
Right, of course.
They got the ring. But when we watched the Saints do it, 4 years ago, they were a first round exit in the playoffs. Then you were like, oh, well, they just wasted a lot of money and they didn't get anything out of it, which is 100% true. But you would have talked about the Saints very differently had they gotten a ring out of it.
Right.
Like, oh, that was super
absolutely. And the thing about it is, though, is even when the Rams did it, they did it with the GM. They did it with a great who had a great head coach. I mean, they had the pieces in place. It was really just a matter of plugging in the right players to complete what they already wanted, and they were able to do that. And of course, then it led on to a Super Bowl. And I think they probably could have got another one out of it, but it didn't go that way. But I thought they could have got at least one more out of it. Yeah, but either way, man. I mean, they got a Super Bowl quicker than what the Cowboys have done since the '90s. So I would take all that just for one damn Super Bowl. Just say we won one.
Yeah.
I mean, because sometimes you don't even get that. I mean, look at Cleveland. Cleveland hasn't had a Super Bowl, and I think, what, God, how far would we have to go back for Cleveland? Does Cleveland? I'm sure they have a Super Bowl, but it must have been like in the early years.
No, I think Cleveland is one of the teams that doesn't have one.
It doesn't, okay, and that may be. I might be completely.
So they had. They don't have a Super Bowl. They had a championship. Right.
That's right. Back to the AFL days.
But their only Super Bowl championships were as Ravens.
Do the Bengals have a ring either? I can't remember them having a ring either.
No. So they don't. The Vikings don't. The Bills don't. Browns don't.
Titans don't.
Lions don't. I think that's it. I think those are the only teams that don't.
Did you get the Titans?
No. In fact, the Jags don't either. I don't.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, there's still quite a few teams that don't have a Super Bowl yet. But
that's interesting. That's it. And I don't know. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I have a great feeling about this young Texans team that's coming up.
They're good.
I don't know if they got all the pieces just quite there yet to take the Super Bowl, but it wouldn't surprise me if they landed in the Super Bowl either, though.
No, they're a good team.
They seem to really be buying into D'Amico Ryans and what he's doing out there. Everybody seems to be buying in, and I'll be honest with you, bringing on Stephon Diggs certainly doesn't hurt them any.
So,
and also Joe Mixon at the running game. I mean, that's something made it.
Well, you know what? We'll talk about that on the other side of the break.
Check it out. I haven't said that's a second hour.
Yeah. Well,
That's
that
just
one's
my
gonna be
Dr. Pepper ran
Oh,
dry.
actually, before we pop over there, let's jump over to Pags real quick. We see him at the field. How you doing, man?
What's up? How you guys doing?
Good.
I had to jump on because I had to congratulate Houston on going back into last place again.
Oh.
Hey, and I have to congratulate you for running all that makeup on and still not getting the World Series ring.
Sure.
Let me turn his mic down.
Yeah, because
Look at that.
sure I'm a little
Only a
loud.
face the mother can love.
Exactly.
There we go.
Nice. Hey, who are the Phillies playing today anyway?
Toronto.
Okay.
Toronto. Okay.
Yes.
I need y'all to beat Toronto. I need y'all to beat Texas too. And Seattle.
Nah,
Well,
definitely don't need to beat Seattle.
Oh, we lost
I
Patrick.
think we lost him.
What a good time, man. That's a hell of a good life when you get to go to baseball games and dress up as your favorite character and make money. I don't know if it gets any better than that, Pags.
Hey, you know what? Some people just get to live the life. Other people just get to grow their beard. I think you're a beard grower.
Yeah, hey, I'm definitely a beard grower. That I will give you that one.
So this is where they play. Here, you got to see over here. This is the wiffle ball area
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
for all the kids. Yeah, they set up like a mini Citizens Bank Park here so that they could do that. They have like a climbing wall for the kids.
That is
where
rad.
I'm in like the kids area.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. I think that's a great idea.
I
That's
mean,
certainly a good way to get younger people getting invited into the game at a young age.
I mean, I want to go play on that. What are you talking about?
I know, me too. Hey, I'm not lying. Me too. But you know what? Though? That's one of the things that baseball has to get to.
Yeah, they also do get with fun stuff.
Yeah, I think as a whole, if all of baseball would start catering more of their stuff to the youth, then they would definitely grow that game even more.
Oh, exactly. Like they have like a hot dog shot. What's up? Let's go!
Let's go.
Let's go, Astros!
Awesome. So yeah, they have like a hot dog shoot where you can shoot at the different targets
Oh,
with
that's
hot
awesome.
dogs.
That's pretty cool.
Climbing walls,
Oh,
ice
yeah.
cream and litter ice. They got it
Hey,
all
I
right
got
here.
$20 that says Pags can't climb the climbing wall.
You know what? You can win that bet if somebody's taking it because I ain't climbing that wall.
Did you see it now? Local Philly celebrity falls off a wall at baseball park, carried out on stretcher. While he was yelling, "Go Birds!"
Oh, nice. Awesome.
I mean, you know, the Phillies uniforms always were kind of fun because they uniformed.
Oh, yeah.
way.
Absolutely.
I wonder if maybe I think they had the pinstripes. I like the pinstripe look, you know.
So we're gonna jump on an elevator. If you lose me, I'll be back in just a second, but you may not lose me.
Hey, how do you feel about your City Connect uniforms?
Well,
But you know what? Our City Connects are better than yours.
well,
Ours are based off of NASA, so we were kind of stuck with it.
while he's in there, we'll do our station break. Since,
There you go.
Inevitably,
That's
we
a
lose
great
it.
picture of him, by the way, as we go to station break. What a great
Great.
picture.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on the 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on student athletes in our region, and now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates a unique and much-needed opportunity for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for the upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get faster. When you're a national program, you receive national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from air on those lists. Which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
All right. There we
Let's
are.
go. I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. I'm taking pictures right now, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, to touch on what we started to talk about was, do you think Diggs is going to be a good fit in Houston? And I kind of don't, right? Like it's like he's going to be fine. He's going to be a good receiver. They're going to be able to use him, and it is a short-term deal, right? Like it's a 1-year contract, if I remember right. But because they reworked his deal before the trade, so it's essentially just the upcoming season. So I feel like he's going to ball out because it's a contract year for him, essentially. But I hope they're not considering signing him to a long-term deal.
Yeah, and I think for Jerry, that really just goes along with, number one, how they look next year in the cap situation, how much flexibility they have. I really think it's going to be a cap issue. You talking about?
Well, I'm talking about for the Texans, though. So,
Texas. I'm sorry. My mom was still stuck on
on the Cowboys.
Yeah, with Stephon, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like him bringing him in because he's a good veteran wideout and he does have speed. The only thing I like about Stephon Diggs, I just don't know if they needed him. I think they had enough at the wide receiver spot that they could have used that extra money and put it on defense or something.
No, exactly. Like it's a piece that I don't think they needed. Now he's going to come in and ball out because again, it's a contract year for him. But at the same time, if they entertain signing him to a long-term deal, that could hurt this team that's on the rise.
Right. My thing about it is Stroud, that guy's a baller. You got 4 different people to throw the ball to. How many is he going to be able to manage all those egos in the huddle? Now you got Stephon, you got Tank Dell, you got Noah Brown, you got Nico Collins. Is he going to be able to? And then you got Dalton Schultz, who's over there at the tight end spot, who's used to getting a million balls from Dak, to not as many because now he's got so many more people to throw to. How is he going to be able to manage all of those egos in the huddle that's going to want the rock?
I mean, I think it'll be all right because it's a young team that's on the rise. Usually you can kind of curb some of those egos early on, right? It's as people get solidified in their roles that the egos really pop out because they're like, oh, I'm the number one, right? So that's one of the things that I worry about with Diggs is he's going to want the rock, right?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to want the rock.
And we've seen him express displeasure when he's not getting it, and on multiple teams. So it's not even like it was just with the Bills, like they did it with the Vikings as well. So I mean, that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you said, is he going to be able to take on a wide receiver 2 role if Nico Collins emerges as the 1, or if Tank Dell, goes back in as the 1? Is he going to be able to take that step back? And if so, is it going to cause disharmony in the locker room? Because it only takes one person to destroy a locker room.
No, for sure. Oh, I unmuted him because I was trying to see what he's trying to show us there. Oh, there we go. Hey, there you are.
Yeah, sometimes it goes in and out. So,
Yep.
I just like how you put on all those lines.
Yeah.
I love how you put all those lines on, man. It's so like you do it so well. Like I'm not an artist at all.
Me neither.
I'm not an artist.
I am not.
Well, you make it look good, though. I'll give you that. You make it look good.
Yep.
If it was Jay, it'd be like paint by number with Jay. I'd be all over the place. It'd be terrible.
All of a sudden, he's a chickenpox commercial based on that.
You know what I'm saying? It would be rough. It would be rough.
Actually, it would probably be more like shingles.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Exactly.
Hey, you know what? I have had chickenpox, but luckily I got the shingles vaccination. So hopefully, it runs in my family. So knock on some wood.
See, that's where I get lucky. We actually have a natural immunity to chickenpox.
Wow. Not
Sorry,
up here.
None of our family gets it. It's kind of cool.
Oh, that must be nice.
Yeah, I'm not sad I missed out on it.
Hey, let me tell you something. Those oatmeal baths were no fun at all. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, just take this medicine. You're rolling around. No, that stuff is horrible.
Are you kidding? I would have definitely had the scars because I wouldn't have been able to not scratch. That's a hell of a view,
Yeah,
man.
it does. It itches so bad. Oh, that's a nice view.
That is a hell of a view.
I mean, it's
Yeah, there's a lot of-
I love the dumb things, but I do think you. I'm sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
I said there's a lot of kids here today, so I'm up in 301 because once I get off here with you, I'll take 1,000 pictures.
Oh, I bet.
As you saw the lines. As you
Yeah.
saw the
You know
lines
what's,
that are already started.
It's just I love a good dome, or a retractable roof, because I like how you can play in the winter or the summer or the rain. It doesn't matter. But there's nothing like just the open field like that, that still kind of brings back that old school baseball. You kind of miss that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love going to like a minor league game, right?
Right.
Because they're always that little bit smaller ballpark. A lot of times there's just there's just a field somewhere out in like left field, right field, somewhere out there where you can just sit in the grass.
Right.
I don't know. There's just some charm to, drinking your $12 flat beer and a hot dog out in the grass, watching some minor league baseball is a good time.
Hey, what's that? Is it Tampa Bay? Is that where they have the hot tub and the swimming pool out there in the outfield? I think it's Tampa that has that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Tampa has a pool, something like that.
Yeah. It's crazy when they start putting pools at ballparks. I'm just saying.
Say it again, Pegs.
I think we lost him.
Yeah, can't hear him at all.
Tell you one thing, though, that's a great way to start out your Tuesday.
Oh, lost him altogether. There he is.
But that is a great way to start out your Tuesday, though, huh? Had a good baseball game.
It's
certainly a good way to start a Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday now. Yeah, I'm sorry. Man, listen, my brain. I lose track of the days. That's what happens when, everything goes together.
His brain is like his knee. Injured and not useful.
And mostly fake.
Ouch, that hurt. Hey, I felt that over. Y'all probably don't know this, but I have some damn feelings. I ain't seen them in a while, but I got some.
No, you don't. You're a Cowboys fan. You have to be devoid.
You're right.
of
I have nothing. I have nothing but despair. Hey, that's all right, though. You know what, though? The Dallas Stars are keeping me in it. That's what I have to look forward to right now is that we beat the Knights. Now we're going to go on to the next series. So,
yeah.
And lost yesterday in overtime.
that's okay. And you can't win them all. As long as we win the series, we're okay.
Okay. If you say
Well,
so.
it's true. I mean, because, hey, look, you can lose game one, but you can still come back and win the series. You know that.
You could.
You
Yeah.
definitely do.
What was that game in the it was when Kurt Schilling was there? Didn't they come back from 3-1, something like that?
They were down 2 games in the first series, weren't they?
I think so. I thought they got down by 3, and that's when Manny Ramirez came in there at the press conference, and they started winning after that. But matter of fact, I think that was the year they won 4 straight and took the series 4-3.
I was surprised you guys got past the Knights.
Yeah, I was too, honestly. I thought it might be another one of those last year type things, you know. I don't know if we have everything to win it the whole season, but I was just glad to beat the Knights just to kind of get that little bit of payback from last year, you know.
Yeah.
Because we got close last year too. I don't think they're going to win it. I don't know if they have quite the full team to get the whole thing, but I'm just glad we got past the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
now
Hey,
they
you never
gotta-
know. You never know.
They got to get past the Colorado team, a tough Colorado team. You guys were up 3-0 yesterday and wound up losing 4-3 in overtime.
Oof.
Colorado's a really tough team, you know, and that's not the first time Colorado's come back like that. That's not their first time. They've done that before several times. They've come back. We probably hadn't beaten the team back and won it.
They do.
Charge. You're supposed to say charge, man. Charge. The Pags won't say it out though. You know, you gotta finish it out, Pags. God.
Don't worry. Don't make more.
Absolutely.
Pag, you look like that. You look like that disgruntled, upset person at a game.
Oh, he froze up again. But yeah, so switching over to the NBA. But were you surprised Jamal Murray didn't get a suspension for throwing stuff at the ref?
Are you talking? I didn't see that one. The last one I saw they got thrown was Patrick Beverly. Are you talking about Beverly? Or are you talking about? You said
No. So Jamal Murray actually threw a heating pad at the ref. Ended up on the court during play.
Oh, damn.
He ended up with a $100,000 fine, which doesn't hurt him at all. He makes that in 1 quarter of basketball.
Yeah, of course.
But the fact that they didn't suspend him for it, now it landed behind the ref. It didn't actually make contact, but it did slide out.
That's not the point. The point is that he threw something at him.
Exactly. And so that's kind of what my question is for you guys, because at the end of the day, like if he hit him, right, for sure getting suspended. No question. Which means now you're only getting suspension or disciplinary action based on the result, not the intent, right? Which I think could set a bad precedent because he's throwing it right at him. You can watch him do it on video, right? Now it falls short and slides past him, but had he hit him, you can guarantee he's getting suspended, right?
Oh, Gary. Even just the act of itself should warrant a suspension, though. Whether you hit him or not, this act should give it a suspension.
Yeah, no, that's my point. Is there should have been a suspension on that because otherwise it doesn't set a good precedent moving forward.
I mean, we got people out there throwing stuff at fans. We got people throwing stuff at refs. At some point, you're right. Adam Silver has to step in. And I said it the other day on my podcast the other day. I said, "Hey, look, $100,000, like you just mentioned, this is just sneezing at these guys. You need to put a damn suspension where it even impacts them, and it needs to be in the millions." Because you can't expect a basketball player unless you get into the millions. That $100,000, $200,000, like I said, that ain't nothing. It's not going to make the impact you think it's going to make. Like, okay, slap on the wrist, no big deal. We keep traveling.
Yeah, no, I mean it didn't seem severe enough. And even if you were looking at it as, hey, we're going to do a business decision in the way of we're not going to suspend him during the playoffs because we need as many eyes on the TV as possible during the playoffs. So maybe you delay the suspension to maybe the first 3 to 5 games next season,
You're lucky. I was going to go more than that. I was going to play the first month or two of the season. He don't play. Period.
Yeah, they're not going to go that hard on him, but
I know, but I feel like when you start throwing stuff at people, that's how you got to regain that kind of composure back in the game. Even if you don't like it, sometimes you got to do things you don't like if you want to keep the game moving at a safe place where people can go and not think that something's going to get thrown at them.
Well, and this one, this was being thrown at one of their referees, and you can't hardly look at a ref.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Without getting tossed, right? So the fact that he threw something at him makes you think that there should have been a suspension, or because that thing slides onto the floor during play, right? If somebody gets hurt on that, right, again, you're probably guaranteed to get suspension. So how is it that because it didn't result in worst case scenario, you're not getting penalized? Like the intent was the same regardless.
Well, I think what I think it's going to be. I think the Patrick Beverly case is going to be the first one that they're going to have to deal with because he threw that basketball, hit that girl, or hit that lady in the arm with the basketball.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't throw it just once; he threw it twice and hit the lady on the second time. So I think you got to deal with that situation first, and I think that will set the precedent for, the one where it was Jamal Murray and so forth. I mean, they got to set the precedent first, but I think you do that with Patrick Beverly, and then you go from there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is what they did for Jamal was it was $100,000 fine. That was it. That's all.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that was I think that was too quick of a fine, too quick of a judgment to place a fine on. I think you needed to put more weight into that than just $100,000.
Absolutely.
Because you know what? If I go out there and get a speeding ticket, depending on how fast I'm going, that could be a good part of my income that goes out the drain just on a speeding ticket. Now, you imagine, it should be the same for these guys. If you're going to affect them, then let's affect them, not just give them the wimp version of an effect, because that's not true. If I go down to the DMV tomorrow and they tell me my traffic ticket is only $25, oh, okay, no big deal. Get on out there, together. If it's a couple $100 or $400 or $500, that's going to make you think a little different.
Yeah, but you can't do it so much. I mean, think about somebody who's the 11th player on the bench who has that same problem, has the same situation. You can't go by contracts, and that 11th guy is not making those millions of dollars. $100,000 would be a hefty fine.
But hey, then that's good. That's the problem. We're so nervous about giving out hefty fines. Sometimes it needs to be hefty to fix the issue. That's what you don't want to pay the hefty fine. Don't throw the basketball.
Well, the biggest thing is okay. So say the fine stays low. The suspension is where you get them, right? Because that hurts the team.
Exactly, and I'm okay with that too. I mean, if you want to give me the suspension side of it, that's fine too. But you gotta make a point.
Yeah, no, exactly. You affect them, and you hurt the team. So then your actions actually have repercussion, right? Because like when you're looking at this, he throws this at the ref, it slides onto the court. Like you could have hit the ref, you could have had guys get hurt on the court itself. If you suspend him for games during the playoffs, well, that hurts the team, right? So that puts some leverage back on the team side of saying, hey, you guys need to not be douchebags. Like, figure your shit out. We need you guys on the court. We can't win if we don't have our players, right?
And you know what they say, though? Everything that starts out small, if you don't deal with it effectively when it's at the small level, then it gets to the big level. And then you got even more to deal with. And you know what? Here's the deal. The first time you lay out a fine like that on somebody for throwing something at somebody, that should set the precedent. Hey, I don't want this big fine. I better not be throwing something at people. Not that they need to be told that, but unfortunately, I guess they kind of do.
Well, they obviously do. But, I mean, that's where suspension is a bigger,
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. If you want to put on the
penalty, because now you're
going to put on the suspension side, then it needs to be at least a 3 or 4 month suspension to really get a hold of them. Because like you said, you threw it, but what if it would have done some serious damage? Then is that when you can't take the appropriate action? When it does some serious damage?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that the money isn't going to matter to most of them. So it has to be time away. Now the NBA is way too soft to do any kind of multiple month type thing, especially for something like that.
I agree with you.
You have guys like John Morant that are, brandishing weapons on Instagram and stuff that isn't getting that kind of, penalties. So it would probably be, 2 to 5 games is the most you would probably get. But you definitely needed to do something more than what they did, because now you've basically shown that you're going to get a slap on the wrist fine-wise,
Right.
and that's it.
Hey, I like what your mom said, though. Hey, can you put that second comment or the first comment your mom said?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, they're paid enough. If they do it once, throw their asses out.
Yep.
I agree, man. Look, these guys are making so much damn money. If somebody calls you a name outside of your name or whatever in a basketball game, hey, suck it up. You're a professional. Be a professional. Suck it up. Because otherwise, you're always going to be like that.
Well, besides, it really shows you that they clearly didn't have hard coaching when they were kids, because I remember coaches saying stuff like that to you as they beat you on the top of your helmet with a whistle. Like,
could you imagine a Bob Knight type of coach?
Right? Like,
I'm just saying, hey, there's rough, or a Paul Bear Bryant.
Are they so Charmin soft that they can't take that now? Is that what's going on? Like, crazy. So how's the game going?
It's 0-0, top of the second.
Okay.
Toronto's got a man on second with 2 outs.
Right on.
Not bad. And
the Blue Jays are actually, they're under 500, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They're 17 and 20.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Bo, is it me, or do you find the one stripe that goes down the bottom part of Pags' nose to be distracting?
How's that?
No, I'll just give Pags a hard time. I'm just giving Pags a hard time.
What? I didn't hear you. What?
Oh, it was not important. It was not important.
That's why I wasn't paying attention.
He was saying you missed a spot behind your ear. I don't know.
Oh man, yeah, we're playing the Yankees today. I don't expect the Astros to do too well. They really messed up Verlander yesterday. So, by the way, you know what? I was thinking watching that game. Verlander makes a hell of a lot of money. I almost wonder if it's time for him to retire. I think we're starting to see a little bit of a decline in Verlander. Now, Tommy John did good for him, I think, last year, but I think age has just kind of caught up to him, because they really did tear into him pretty good yesterday in New York. And then when he was in his last rehab stint out there in Sugar Land, they kind of put a butt whooping on him too. So I'm kind of wondering if now we're at the end of Verlander's, and maybe it's time for him to be either a middle relief or even a closer if he wants to be.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean? I just don't think they're really. When I watched that game the other day, when I typically watch Verlander, he's very methodical on his command where he places the ball. And I just didn't see that in New York. It seemed like he was kind of struggling a lot with his command and where he wanted to place the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think he needs to take DeGrom out there with him too. DeGrom needs to go ahead and call it a day. I think Scherzer might be heading towards that category.
Yeah. No, I could see that. Especially.
I think now it's almost like the changing of the guard. Kershaw and Sale. It's almost like you're seeing a changing of the guard now in the pitching world.
Well, they've been in the league quite a while, so.
Seriously, it's like a long time of baseball getting ready to leave here. I think.
Yeah.
But that's all right. Now you got this new crop coming up. It's pretty good too.
It cracked me up. Stat guy texted me last night to tell me that Igamura, whatever his name is, had 6 shutout innings, and I'm like, that's a shame that he can't go past 6. He goes, well, he went into the 8th. I go to take a look. He gave up a 2-run home run in the 8th. So he's giving me in the 6th inning that there's he went down to a .61 ERA. Then he let up 2 runs. He went up to a .078 or 0.78. This guy sucks.
That's awesome.
Oh man, I'm glad we don't hold back our feelings on this show.
That's what I had to tell Dustin. I'm like, listen, he gave up a 2-run home run. You're giving me these.
Yeah.
You're giving me all the numbers before he gave up the home run. Then he gives up the home run. Well, obviously those are earned runs.
Yep. 0.78 is still crazy.
Well, 0.78 is crazy. Anything under 1 is crazy.
Yeah.
Especially when you got 40 plus innings logged in the books and you're at a 0.78. I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, especially when you figure most of your Cy Young winners are, right around that 2 mark.
Yeah, exactly. Right at around it. You're right about the 2.11 mark, 2.11 or so.
Well, he got a no decision because or he might have even got the loss.
Oh, did they lose?
That 2-run home run actually gave them the Padres the lead. I don't know if they lost or not. I can't check on my phone without.
I like that I just got a text from Stat Guy saying, "Oh, I forgot to tell you I won't be on." It's like, well, I kind of figured that out.
Oh goodness.
And tomorrow may be rerun day because I'm not going to be able to do it. If you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, so I haven't heard back on if I'm going to be needed in that role or not. So to be determined. To be determined.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to make
all this in right now.
Oh
man, I'd be here.
All I know is I hope I find out soon because I'd like to clean some of this fuzz up because it's starting to get a little itchy.
Oh goodness. Yeah, speaking of fuzz, look at that shape all his.
Yeah, it's funny. Like the goatee, that's fine, but as soon as it's in here, I'm like, it's annoying.
That's because you don't have that man hair. You got them boys hair. You gotta have this man hair.
It is. It's actually like it's like bristle brush stiff. So it's.
Oh yeah, you got that coarse hair. Yeah.
So it's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it was softer, I probably wouldn't care so much. But mostly, it's just annoying.
No, that coarse hair stuff. That's what I have sensitive skin and coarse hair. 30 years in the military was not easy. I will tell you that. It was rough.
Just ingrown hairs forever.
Oh man, listen, I can't even tell you how many times that's happened. But you know what? Like when I have my beard, I don't get pimples as much. But when I shave off my beard, then they kind of pop up here and there. I don't know. It's kind of weird how that happens. I don't know.
No, it makes sense. I mean, you get ingrown hairs and stuff. Like it's just that's part of it. And you probably still do. The hair just hides it.
Nice.
My hair grows like weeds, so I got to shave every day, or else it's looks like I have 5 o'clock shadow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. So that if I'm clean shaven, the goat, I get the Homer Simpson ring like immediately. Because the hair's so dark that you immediately get the outline. It's like, well, that's dumb.
Yeah, I get gray hair every now and then. My gray is kind of more spread out. I don't have it that concentrated in one area, but
yeah, apparently I carry a lot of stress. Yep.
I need to dye my beard.
The only gray I have would give me like Paulie walnuts. So if you saw The Sopranos, it would be dark up top and then gray on the sides.
Oh, I got you.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny because like the rest of my hair is dark.
Where? What other hair you got?
There's a little bit. It's mostly back here somewhere. That's actually coming real soon. As I'm just going to be, Sports Center, just shave it all off.
Yeah, mine's getting.
It's coming.
Doing the SVP.
You know it. It's coming because this is just annoying at this point. And I'm not going to do all of the things like the Rogaine and whatever. Like I'm not that dedicated to it. I'm not going to do that multiple time a day.
Hey, if you got a woman without the hair, what's the point of growing the hair?
Yeah, I mean, like if money wasn't an issue, like I would entertain the hair plugs, I guess.
Oh yeah, I don't even know how much that cost. There's got to be
a lot,
a good chunk of change.
Yeah. Like I would
and
actually.
Then how real does it really look? Does it really look as real as what they say, or can you tell? Oh yeah, he had that done.
No, I mean, so you got to do it more than once is the thing, right? Like if you do it once, it'll kind of be patchy, but if you do it a couple of times, then it'll fill in, it'll look good. But I mean, again, you gotta have the money for it. Like, but I would entertain that because that's the amount of work I'd be willing to do. Because then it just grows like normal hair and you don't think about it. The whole like daily regimen of bullshit, like I'm not doing any of that. I'll just shave it and call it good.
So what do y'all think about
this conversation is too riveting for me. I'm going to go back to watching the game since there's a whole group of people about to come through Corpus.
Sounds like a plan, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun at the game.
All right, and I'll see you guys on Friday since I will not be able to be here tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan, man.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
Take it easy, brother.
All right, be good.
All right.
If I was a kid with a water gun, I would totally spray him right in the face, man. I would. I'd be that kid. Big stoker.
Oh, man. Did they even
Hey,
let
real
you
quick, real quick. So we were talking about Caitlin Clark and what her impact do you think is going to be in her NBA season? What kind of impact do you think Caitlin Clark is going to have in the NBA? Just you can even say this season, or you can just say over the long haul. Or you can even say both. Like, how do you see her now versus the future of WNBA?
So, I mean, they're in the preseason games now, right? And we've seen some highlights of her being able to, get these threes up, make people miss. So, I mean, she definitely has a place in the WNBA, no doubt. I think she can be one of the better players, easily. So, if the WNBA can figure out how to market it, I think they can. They got something, right?
Right.
Especially with how good this draft class was. So, when you think of, the names of the top 7-8 players. When's the last WNBA draft you knew anybody in it at all?
Right. No, you're right.
Like if they were to actually market this in a smart way, they should be able to really grow this sport. But I don't know that they're going to do anything like that. But they could. And
so here's my thought, right? So hey, check this out. So they just got charter flights for the WNBA. I know you saw that. Yeah. So that's almost like a huge game changer for the WNBA. The fact that now they have chartered flights for these girls rather than, I guess, the flying economy. They got the chance right now with an Angel Reese, with Caitlin Clark, and the controversies that have been between those two girls and how that could really be even manifested in the WNBA. If they don't take these two girls and what they have and really blow this thing up, I don't think they're ever going to be able to do it in the WNBA. I think this is the litmus test as to whether or not the WNBA can actually be a profitable organization, or if they're just going to be the sidekick that the NBA uses to drag around to write off their tax monies.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is we were making this argument the other day is I really think that at this point, based on the fact that they're doing nothing to move this forward, it just looks like it's a tax shelter. I mean, the more you look at it,
bro.
Yeah,
it's gotta be, because there is zero marketing out there for anything WNBA anywhere around where I live. Like, you will not see a damn thing.
I actually saw the first WNBA commercial. I threw Get Up on this morning, right? ESPN.
Right.
There was actually a WNBA commercial. during Get Up this morning. And when it came
Wow.
on, and I'd already, I was already done with my first show of the day, so I was just kind of in between, seeing if any other news popped up. And WNBA commercial popped up, and I was like, "Oh, that's crazy!" Because we just got done talking about how they don't market it at all. And I did finally see a commercial, but it's the only commercial I've seen.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, like literally, like if you live out here in the Huntsville area or even in the Houston area,
Sure.
you know, and you got to figure there's only so many cities that now they have WNBA teams in, but they are missing. I can imagine if it's like this in Houston, that this is part, and especially where you are in Seattle, where you actually have a WNBA team.
Yeah.
You know, and look, they had a really good opportunity during the Brittany Griner when she was locked up in prison. They had a great way to really dive into that, market that, and do a whole lot with that story piece. And the WNBA did zero. Then you get, you know, now you got this Caitlin Clark piece and the Angel Reese piece, and yet still zero. So that just tells you right there that they have like zero give a fucks about the WNBA. They really don't. And you know what? And I think, you know, and looking back on it, when the WNBA first came around and the Houston Rockets left after the first 4 seasons of straight WNBA championships, if you could go 4 straight WNBA championships and your owner says, you know what, we're going to put the kibosh on it. There's no more Houston Comets. We're out of here. I think Les knew at the very beginning that there was no money in this. And I think that's why he got out of it and said, you know what, I don't want no part of it. Even though we're the most successful franchise in the WNBA. If the most successful franchise in the WNBA and the owner of that franchise says, you know what, I'm out of here because there's no damn money in it. I mean, they knew it back then that they weren't going to put anything into this.
I mean, what's wild to me on that one is why wouldn't you have sold the team instead of just like getting rid of it?
Exactly. Why wouldn't you?
Because I mean,
unless there's somebody out there that was buying.
Someone would have bought that, right? Because you get
I think so.
You get to buy it without any of the hard work of getting the rings. You just get the rings.
Right.
Right. Like someone would have bought it. And
I mean, there's definitely marketability there. I mean, it's coming out of Houston.
There is expansion coming. Oh, there we go. So there's expansion coming. The Golden State Warriors are going to get a team.
Right.
So they are they're going to add a WNBA team. So clearly money must be coming in because they're going to add a couple of teams. Because
well, the thing about this one for me is why would you know, Houston's not a small place. If you know anything about Houston, I mean, we're like, you know, I think we're like either number 3 or number 4, if not even higher than that in population. I think New York and LA are the two cities that outdo us in population. Sure. And you got like the number 3 or 4 largest city in the United States, and you want to take a team out of that market? We got digitalness. We got all the areas around Houston.
Yep.
You know, I mean, there's a lot to offer out of the city of Houston. We got great warm climates. I mean, we got no state tax, and you're gonna tell me you can't build a team here?
Yeah.
I mean, that if you can't build a team in Houston, then where the hell are you gonna build a team? Honestly.
No, I'm with you.
I mean, it just blows my mind. But I think there's something there. There had to be something there for Leslie to bow out of the game, right? At the very beginning of it all. And that just that just throws up a huge red flag to me as to where they are now. And we talk about the lack of marketing and things like that. If maybe Les saw this down the road and said, you know what, this isn't a business that's viable for me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it seems to you know, stumble forward, right? Because I mean, they have this expansion coming. You know, they now have these charter flights for, you know, for all the teams, which means, you know, they have more money coming through. The Storm actually just added a practice facility. Right. So they were, I forget where they were training before, but they actually just got done building a whole new practice facility just for the Storm. So, I mean, clearly there's funds of some sort, right?
Yeah. And Nike just gave Caitlin Clark, like, what was it, $28 million
Yeah, but
endorsement.
that's a personal
No, but what I'm
endorsement.
saying though is they can use that, or they can use her in that role to promote the WNBA. I mean, I'm just saying it's another area where they could promote the WNBA in that hasn't been promoted. I mean, just her voice alone, what she has with Nike can help propel the WNBA if they use her correctly.
Yeah, I mean, what they have available to them has, we'll say, been underutilized.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely underutilized, without a doubt.
No, it's funny because it is something that we talked about at length this morning on the morning show, and it was just it seems like they're self-sabotaging because you have a great chance to really kind of propel your market forward, and they're falling short. And what we were talking about this morning was, if you were a marketing student in a high school at a DECA program, you could do a better job marketing than what the WNBA is doing. And they're paying people to do stuff. So it's almost like they're actively not promoting.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
And
I don't understand why. I don't understand why they're not actively promoting, because I mean, the only thing that makes sense why you're not actively promoting is if this is a tax write-off for you, because you're not going to put the money into it for the promotions and the marketing if you're not really trying to make money at it. And that's the reason why I feel like this is just more of a tax thing, because there is a lack of marketing on their end, and these are global executives. They know what they're doing. That just shows a lack of interest on the NBA side to grow this thing. I mean, there's a lack of interest. I don't see how it grows.
Well, and I think that, some of this adding teams, stuff like that, is because the NBA is going to expand. They're getting their new TV contract. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at the potential WNBA expansion, it happens to land exactly with the NBA expansion, which makes me think that this is, again, a way for them to hide money,
Oh, right. Because my thing is like, why are we not trying to find ways to get the WNBA on platforms other than just ESPN to watch their games? Why are we not seeing them on ABC, CBS, any of that kind of stuff, Well,
it's funny. I think it's because of, if you are using it as the tax write-off that we're, speculating, right? Then for it to make sense for the NBA, you got to go right from being a loser to being really profitable, because then it not only has to overcome the taxes that you've been writing off, but then it's going to have its own taxes to pay as well. Right. So you're going to have a way higher tax burden by it being successful. But if that's the concern, then you would think you would be really going out of your way to over promote it in hopes to bridge that gap.
So basically, they're trying to ride that fine line of not losing money, but not making money, and riding it right in the middle.
Well, they're riding a fine line of, we need to lose a certain amount of money.
Right.
And so since their TV contract, exactly. So the TV contract that's coming up, plus the team expansion, it allows them they're going to need the WNBA to also be bigger, right? To help offset that percentage, because that seems to be what they're searching for. Now, again, I could just be talking out of my ass, and this is just tinfoil hat stuff, but
there's an incredible large amount of sense to it, though.
It does. That's the worst part.
I mean, it's either somebody is really, really shitty at their job and nobody wants to call them out on it, or B, this is designed on purpose for like write-off purposes. And I really think that's the direction that is going in.
For sure. Although that being said, I think two things can be true. I think you can have a marketing person that they brought in because they're bad at their job, and it helps justify the fact that they lose money.
How do you even interview that? Hey, we want you to come in because of your reputation. We just don't want you to do anything.
Yeah, we
just go there, eat a few donuts, write a couple of reports, and we'll call this.
Exactly. We want it to look like you're trying without actually being productive.
If you're a good boy, we'll send you down to Jerry World and you can watch the cheerleaders undress.
Yeah, well, that was a different sport, but yes. Oh man,
what a time to be alive, man! When that story broke on, I was like, "Oh, come on, man!" This is not the kind of publicity I need for Dallas, but it was so funny. I mean, you could use it in so many jokes. How could you not?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, I mean, that was like when Washington was doing it too, right?
Oh, yeah. They were all in that the cahoots.
Crazy stuff.
And I think if you track it back long enough, it'll eventually lead its way back to Deshaun Watson.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could tie Kraft in there too if we're going the massage route. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what happens when you become rich and famous. I guess all craziness just comes into your life.
Well, I think they get bored. I think that's what happens. Is
you think so? You know what? In all honesty, I can see that being a thing where you just have so much money, like you literally become bored and just start doing stupid stuff just to make it fun and interesting.
Well, I mean, doing the stupid stuff is fine as long as you're doing stupid stuff that doesn't get you in trouble. Like you can do plenty of
fine though.
You can do plenty of stupid stuff. Like if I had crazy money, I might be tuning in to this podcast. Oh, I don't know, from the Caribbean on my yacht with a beer in my hand.
Driving a $1.9 million Ferrari down the Autobahn.
No, I would just rent it.
We ain't gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it.
I would just rent the track. And then I just rent a track for a day because you can do that for.
Oh, that would be awesome too. Wouldn't that be awesome to just drive as fast as you want on it? Oh my God.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Like go rent out Laguna Seca for the day.
God.
And spend the $2,000 or whatever it is.
Because I'd be that dude that took a turn too quick when he thought he could make it, and
it doesn't matter. You totaled the car on the freeway anyway.
I wouldn't mind doing a crash up derby. I think that'd be kind of fun. Honestly, I really do. I mean, I'm sure there's injuries involved with that, but man, I don't know. I just think there's something great about slamming two perfectly good cars together and not having to call the insurance.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, there's that portion of it, I guess. I don't know. Like I got tangled up a couple of times on the track. It's really not that fun. The only thing I did do that I probably wouldn't do again on the track is I did get to do a practice session in figure eights.
Yeah.
And I didn't get hit, which was cool. I was able to pick my gaps, but that one time that was good enough. Cause I mean, generally those cars get rocked. And so I got to do a practice session one weekend with a different race team. I didn't have a car in it, but so it was kind of fun, but I was just like, man, if one of those cars is driving through my door, like I'm not super stoked about it.
Oh, heck no.
So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, as far as getting tangled up on the track, that's not super fun. It's part of racing for sure, but I wouldn't go do a demo derby.
You would. There's nothing that would make you want to do a demo. I would do a damn demo. I would.
Yeah.
I'd be out there trying to destroy everybody.
Well, I mean, that's the idea, right? But yeah,
you gotta use the back end of your car. You don't want to use the front end. You can just keep using the back end of that car and just slamming everybody. That's what you got.
Yeah, I mean that's always the goal, right? It eventually you end up just kind of chasing the last couple cars around. But yeah, for me, I like more of the actual racing. Like I want to see you outdrive me, right?
Right. I want to see you outcrash me. I bet if I can keep that car going longer.
Yeah, I mean that's all the demo derby
is, right? Like one's racing and one's just trying to keep the car running longer than the other people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's all it is. That's all it is.
I put my mother-in-law in one of those cars.
Well, that's a different sport altogether. Oh man.
Oh man, hey, I think that's how all families should handle the disputes. Though, if you want to handle a good family dispute, just everybody go out there and pick your car. Whoever's the last engine running, that's the one that wins the fight.
That would be hilarious.
Saying it's a new way for couples therapy.
Ah man, yeah. It'd be something else for sure. I do have a promo item I got to throw up here before we get out of here today. And that is this right here. So this Saturday is the Tyler Lockett Pro Camp event. I will be one of the guest coaches on it. And if you use promo code Football Talk, you'll save 10% on the registration. And you can sign up for your kids, TylerLockettCamp.com. And that'll be, again, this Saturday from 9 to noon. There are still some spots available. So if your kid is between 1st and 8th grade, go ahead and sign up. And, come and meet Tyler Lockett and get some pointers in football. Again, if you use Football Talk, save 10%. All right. Just wanted to make sure I got that out there before.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun, honestly. I wish as a kid I would have had the opportunity to go to one of those football camps, just for the experience. I just think that's an incredible experience to go out there and, just nothing else to pick the pros' brains and how they do what they do to get where you want to go. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think it should be a blast. I'm looking forward to being part of it. I think it'll be very cool.
Yeah. So how did you get that? I mean, do you actually have to teach them how to make the water boat, or you just teach them how to serve the water?
Well, I think you have to. I think you have to start with some good, high quality H2O. No.
On a real tip though, I gotta imagine, those camps aren't expensive, so any kind of money you can save on them, those 10% and stuff like that Football Talk. That's going to go a long way. That's going to go a long ways to help them, because I don't imagine those camps are cheap.
So this one's not bad because it's a one day camp. So this one is it's $159 if I remember right. So like it's actually not a terrible one, and so it's going to be fun to see how it's put together, because I haven't been a coach at one of these before. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that it all comes together, but should be a lot of fun. And
I would imagine that, whatever position you play, that's how you would go to this camp, right? I mean, they would break it down to positional, and you just do positional stuff with whatever your position is.
That is my guess. So even though the camp is from 9 to noon, those of us that are going to be coaching, we actually show up at 7 a.m. So so we're going to be there real early to check in and kind of go over what it is we're going to do. And, plus it's going to be interesting to see exactly how it is they break it up age group wise, because from 1st to 8th grade is a wide range of ages. So, at that point, like, how much herding cats are you doing? Right. Like, because I don't know how many other coaches are going to be there. I would imagine there's quite a few. So, I mean, I imagine it's going to be broke down by position a little bit, might be broke down by age groups to some degree. It feels like it'd have to be. But because I haven't coached at one of these before, it's going to be a learning experience. I don't know.
I think I know the show's almost over. I think tomorrow, man, if we do have a show tomorrow, we should break down the Suns and where they go from here. And all the, because that was their first round exit. They really don't have too much bench to play with. They obviously are maxed out on all those high contracts. So if you're a Suns person, where do you go from here? And I think that'd be kind of a good thing to talk about tomorrow. If you haven't already, I don't know if you Pags have already talked about that. But.
No, we haven't. Honestly, we're probably going to do a rerun for this show tomorrow. And the only reason I say that is because if I do have to go into this, be part of this movie, it'll happen right when the show is happening.
That's fine. So, I think that's an evergreen topic anyway, so we can always talk about that on Friday or something if y'all haven't already discussed it.
Well, that's the thing, is I think we can talk about it on Friday, because we haven't talked about it. Like, we briefly talked about how Kevin Durant is disappointing, but we haven't talked about the Suns directly. So, one of those camps would have been super fun. They weren't really a thing when I was a kid.
They weren't really a thing when I was a kid either. The only two options you had was, if you were in elementary, the only thing you could do was go to the YMCA and play there, whenever you were old enough to play at the YMCA. And then you kind of went that direction up the ladder, right? I think you went YMCA, junior high, and high school football. There really wasn't a whole lot of programs or any of these other stuffs out there. It was just a YMCA. That was kind of what you were limited to. But we still had a damn good time, though, man. We had a good time in those things.
No doubt. Outside of that, we're at the top of the hour. Take it easy, everybody.